We often talk about transition as this very concrete standard thing in trans experience, when actually for some people it can be a very confusing process, and for some others rather like a straightforward thing. For me, for example, I don't even think I'm transitioning into anything, nor I ever was.
So for today's episode, we're going to talk about the tea in transitioning. And before that, don't forget to subscribe, like, comments, and also follow us on all platforms. Enjoy the tea.
Can you pinpoint a moment in which you say, okay, this is when I started my transition?
I wrote one sentence in my journal and then put the date as well. And I think I would say that is the conscious pinpoint of like timeline that I would use the term trans to identify myself. I need to check my journal, but the year is 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the sentence that I said, I am trans and I love being trans.
Wow. And do you have it still?
I have it still. There was the moment when the transitioning happened in the brain first, inside. Like, oh, when I'm not this, that I never feel aligned with this category, then I'm this, and then it means like I'm not cis, so it's trans, right? And I'm transitioning already from the concept of woman into like something else that I caught myself. I was also thinking binary in that moment because there are binary trans people too. And I was in the phase of like, okay, if I'm not a she, then I'm using the pronoun he.
You changed your pronouns to he, him?
Yes, directly.
Oh, wow.
Like, all right, I'm not this, so I must be that, And then I changed, like, I wanted to try he, him pronouns, like my first socially, languagey transitioning, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And it was weird for me because in Indonesian language, we don't have pronouns. We always have they, them. It's called dia. We always talk another person in a gender neutral way. So the first encounter in Berlin that people asked, what's your pronouns? And I was like, oh, interesting. And I never really thought about it. And there was also the journey of like, nobody really asked me about this, or like somebody asked me, do you identify as a woman? And I was like, I remember I was doing this very loudly excitement, yes, that I wanted to make sure that, yes, I am a woman. But then I went back home. I was like, why was that weird? It was like, are you straight? I'm like, yes. But like, wait a minute, something felt weird in my belly. When I said I was a woman, that's when I started to like, okay, question more. What does it mean to be a woman? And then when I'm not a woman, then am I a man? Like I use he, him pronouns now. I tried all that for like some months. And then like the they, these, and gentle them, and the they bees
How was that?
are in my surrounding. It was a click at that moment when I found that pronouns, which existed in my language already, but here is like a different levels of like, oh, you're a they, them. I'm like, I've been a they, them since I was a baby in Indonesia, but to use it in a different context where we are right now, it was like, it felt more me rather than to just use the he, him. Yeah. So now it's almost 4 years, but there was first the language perception of transitioning.
The first time I questioned gender when it comes to my own gender, I think it was when I entered university, because I had this class that was called gender. And it was, of course, more centered in violence against women and like all this topic. But there, it was the first time that I've heard that gender is a social construct. This is the first time I got in touch with this idea. And I remember understanding that a man is something that is defined by society. And I remember knowing or coming to the conclusion that I wasn't that. But I didn't have any other term or alternative or framework that I could use to identify myself. I just remember that I was left with this feeling of like, oh, interesting that this is actually something that is defined by society, and I just don't fit in this characterization of what a man is. And then this time was a lot about figuring things out. I knew I liked guys, but then I also felt very connected emotionally to some girls. I even had a girlfriend back in the day. Like, it's my lesbian era. Yes, and I don't know, like I guess then what I can pinpoint is just like realizing that I wanted to have long hair, but this wasn't attached to any particular identity. It's just like I'm telling you the physical experience. And then I moved here in 2018, and I don't know, I think there was more awareness in me about this non-binary, but I don't think I was like calling myself that. And I know when I actually claimed this like trans tag, and it was as a result of all the J.K. Rowling beef on Twitter, because then it was more like, okay, you know, these people that share this experience as me, even though I was not calling myself trans, it's like something that resonated a lot with me, are under attack. And therefore, you know, I took a side, so to say. And then because of this like polarized Twitter discussion, I came closer to this identity, right? Because it's not that I found my identity through these words, is that at some point I found the words to describe myself, you know? And I've always also related to all these terms with some distance of like, okay, this is this. By definition, I can be that, I am that, or something like that, but it's not. I think the time that I felt closest to this trans tag was like when I was fighting J.K. Rowling on Twitter. And after that, I also like took certain distance because I also didn't want to be defined by any of these terms.
Talking about questioning, there was also my kind of first encounters being questions by other people or being asked. How I grew up in Indonesia, it was like by default, I was assigned female, but I was assigned a girl, and then it was just like all the cis heteronormativity lifestyle that people put on me that, of course, I'm a girl, I like other boys, and I will get married, and then I will have kids, and I will have family. So like all of those things, it was just like put on me that I never questioned myself. I never thought also I had the rights to question about stuff, you know, like this is how you live with this body already like dictated and assigned what to do, what not to do, what to say and what not to say. And then I moved here in 2013. So it's been 13 years, so many layers there as well, but we go there later. What I wanted to share is that I got the first questions about myself. It wasn't about my relationship as a woman with somebody else or like with my things. It was always like related, you know, to that. If you are read as a girl, as a woman, like, oh, do you have a boyfriend? Are you married? Like, well, how old are you? Oh, you're gonna have kids? Like, all of this question is not there anymore. It was because I was also having more contacts with queer people in Berlin that they asked, okay, what is your sexual orientation? What is your pronouns? Like, do you identify as like all of these questions? I was like, wait a minute. That I started to really reflect what does even the word gender means. What does even the word woman means? Like, and it's so confusing even to answer until now. What does it mean? And I learned to just like, I put meaning in my own gender, and I want to be my own gender, the gender that I'm still figuring out as well. And yes, there are language that helps us navigate and feel. We do all want to feel belonging as well. When there is a terms that describe similar experience, doesn't mean we have same experiences. We still have different trans experiences, and then to just feel this belonging of like, oh, there are these experiences that other people feel similar to me, and it's not just me. I'm not just like a weird gender unknown person, and learning also from thinking binary to expand my brain into the non-binary spectrum, and going back to my own culture. Like, it's been there. It's not like a Western thing, what people like to call it also, like back home, like, oh, now you live in Berlin, and then like Berlin made you gay. I'm like, also you made me gay. And like, I had the space to unlearn stuff here without all the social expectation and norms that I was used to when I grew up, and then like learning even the trans tag now as a political statement as well, and also putting conscious distance of like, there are some moments I'm like, I don't want to say I'm trans. I'm Dira. I'm this person, which happens to be trans too. Like, I am an artist, which happens to be trans. I am a lover, which happens to be trans too. It's not always my one identity of my human being creatures. Yes. There are like certain steps. That doesn't mean it's like, oh, this step is going linear, but they're just like steps. It could be like in any directions. There are steps that I took from that, and then, oh, I wanted to transition physically in terms of like, I'm gonna shave my head, like went to the barber shop and wanting to experience this gender euphoria of like having a fresh buzz cut and wearing a very masculine like shirts, like in that type of way, transitioning of my look. Until then, I realized like there are things that I am dreaming of. I started to dream things that I didn't know it was possible for me to even have access to hormone replacement therapy. And that changed my dream of like, oh, actually, I was feeling dysphoric with my voice, because with my look, I could play with my buzz cut and then like a big shirt that people would think I just look like a twin boy or like a young boy, because I'm Southeast Asian as well, I don't have beard, and I can play with that. But then when people hear my high voice, they're like, oh, you're a girl. And that was always like, I wanted to have a deeper voice. And I started to envision like, oh, I wanted to have like a tiny mustache on my face. And first it was just daydreaming. Like I said, I like daydreaming and thinking about it. Then I was starting to feel the inner body reaction. When I thought about it, I was like, oh my God, I feel the joy. I feel the euphoria, even though it's not happening yet. And I was like, okay, this is my body. This is my decision. I have the privilege and the access to it to try out. I wasn't saying I'm transitioning now. It also makes this concept of like from A to B or like from here to somewhere. I'm actually just trying out how it feels for me taking these steps of taking testosterone, which was which month is it? May. 2 years, 5 months ago. The first time I started to take my testosterone. And until now, it's been like so many confusion, euphoria becoming dysphoria, dysphoria becoming euphoria, or like new things that gives me euphoria. I can give you also more example in that, but what I wanted to say is this decision or this feeling of the change, how I really see myself, perceive myself, not only what I feel inside, but what I look in the mirror. Then this is the 3rd year that I really get to know myself deeper, also just allowing myself to explore how it feels. And I know I can also still decide to not take it anymore or to do microdose. There's so many ways of transitioning. There is not only one way to transition or the other. I am actually just becoming something that I also don't know. We have the words non-binary, transmasculine, femboy, twink, daddy, so many labels or tags that I could put. Also, I'm thinking sometimes I'm just me. I don't need all these labels. And I don't feel sometimes that I'm transitioning or I'm trans. And I forget sometimes to transition. Some days I'm like, Yeah, we shared about this 2 different experiences for you, what transitioning means, and that at this moment there is different kind of physical change that you chose for yourself without including hormones, for example. What is like your reflection in this kind of transitioning for yourself?
When it comes to physical change, that's the thing that I never felt I'm transitioning into anything. Like my trans experience doesn't include a transition as such. If there was a transition, I think it was just that I at some point realized that I prefer high waist pants over like men pants.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the transition.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was done with my transition,
Yes.
I told you I like to think of myself as a practical person.
I wear jeans and then a crop top tank top.
Yeah, but that I was using already. Always. I mean, but not like tank tops, but because I don't only use tank tops. I was always using these like sleeveless, like self-made cut shirts, and I always like them. And I talked a little bit about this already in the self-love episode, that for me, this process was not about chasing or finding an identity. Like, it was not a process into identification. It was more a process of loving myself as I am and for that, the process was to get rid of all these things imposed by society that would make me feel that I am not adequate or like, yeah. And then I guess at some point I reached this point in which my fashion choices, if you want to see them like that, are based on what I like instead of like, oh, is this for a man or for a woman? But I never transitioned into something, I
told you, like, sometimes when I go out and then dress myself, it's not about my gender expression, it's just style, bitch. Just my style, and it doesn't have that's what's so freeing about it, you know. Yes, gender is a construct, and then we construct new genders, new clothes, new ways. And this is what I learn from this fluidity of transitioning, because now I have more, let's say, masculine trait in the physical change that I experience through the transitioning, like my voice and then my face, and then there's a little bit hair, you can see. Then I was so dysphoric wearing dresses and skirt because I was forced since I was a kid. And my mom always told me, like, I needed to trick you to wear skirts. So I would buy like a pants that has skirt, so it looks like a skirt, but I actually wear pants. And it wasn't about the skirt and the pants. When I reflect about it, it's about what the skirt represents. If I wear a skirt, I'm a girl, and I never really felt that I fit. That's why I was like, why should I wear the skirt? And now that I know who I am and who I am not, and who I am becoming and still trying out to find out, skirt, I feel so euphoric now wearing a skirt, because now the transition in my brain is like, I am a femboy. I'm also deconstructing okay, I feel more aligned with masculinity. What does masculinity means for me? Like, I feel so masculine wearing like a big, long skirt and then like a very tight top that now I didn't hide my upper body, because I feel I could like do certain things to have like a flatter chest, and then certain body change for the muscly part, or yeah, the body changed, you know. And I started to feel euphoric wearing the things that I used to feel dysphoric for, and redefining what makeup means for me, because I was so forced to. My mom would say, okay, you look like a boy, so you need to go out to wear lipstick at least every time, so people know you're a girl. And then like lipstick, I don't really wear lipstick, and now I started to wear a little bit lipstick, and just exploring the clothes to express me that doesn't have to be my gender, because my gender is also a private thing, you know. It's also an intimate thing to share, to invite people in to know about the stories. And I have tools to navigate when people read me and treat me as a woman. Then I will be like, I don't feel triggered or dysphoric at certain ways.
Compelo.
You like to talk about gender, huh?
Yeah, it's some kind of hug that he does.
Oh my god! I've never hugged like this before. There is this gender is a social contract, and I like to think gender is a playground, and I play with it. I play with how I express it. I play with how I want to use the language to describe me. Like I told you, I work with kids, and kids are the best people to talk about gender, because once I was telling them, they were asking like, are you a boy or a girl? And then I'm like, I am neither boy nor a girl. And then this kid was just, okay, so you're a clown. Like, exactly. And then these words, you know, like clown, you cannot also know the gender of a clown. A clown is a clown. And yes, there is this language, and I don't mind having different ways to just play around. Yeah.
This also makes me think about how we need to adapt to the context in many cases, because I experience my gender identity. Most of the time, I don't even think of it as a gender identity, right? But like, I experience myself here in a way, and then I go to Nicaragua, and it's completely different. You know, I don't expect people to use my pronouns,
Yes.
and nor even to, I don't know, like know about it. And I have my own queerness that I like activate there, that is different to the one that I have here.
And I told you in Indonesia as well, when I went back last year, and it was already 1 year I was transitioning, so there were like already changes about my voice and then my look. And I was also toning down a little bit. I wasn't like wearing like my gay stuff. And I didn't wear my nail polish, or like, I still have a colorful hair, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna wear more black, blah, blah. And in that moment, it was a surprise for me, because in one day I was read as a boy and as a girl. Sometimes just like in between 2 minutes that I met somebody who called me sister, and then the other person called me brother. So, and I realized the language that people use to describe me reflects their world, not my world. I know like who I am inside me, and it became easier for me to like not take it like it's your world, and we can still have a decent interaction, not feeling like, oh, you are assuming me, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's different when we are here. There is like a social interaction or expectation in certain way to be in the like safer space and inclusive space, right? Which is important also to talk about it. And it's just a different way in Indonesia when the language also allows us to be more fluid. There's so many gender neutral language to call also partner, for example. And if you talk about the third person in Indonesian language, until like the last information, or you needed to add an extra info to know if it's a woman or a man. And in Indonesian culture, we have also in different areas, different cultures, indigenous cultures that have more than 5 genders, like anekan, what is recognized as well. Like so many, we can dive into it like in some days. But what I wanted to present here, just the fluidity of exploring and showing transness depending on where you are, which culture as well. And that shapes me also. Now I use all pronouns, because in Indonesia I realized, oh my God, I like actually being perceived in different ways, and that I have all of them as well in me that I am embodying. And I love making people confused. I told you sometimes people are like, are you transitioning from which way? And last weekend I get that again. They were like, somebody thought I was a boy transitioning into a girl. You know, I was like, oh my God, it's like now I'm like in the confusion phase. Or I went out and then people started to call me also like bro or man in a certain way. Yeah, different experiences. And I think part of the transitioning that I like in the non-binary euphoria feeling is confusing the people.
I have some thoughts about this that you said. You said something like, the way that people describe me is related to them, to their world, and you find that interesting and fun, and you have a very nonchalant way to relate to it, right? And I don't know if what I'm gonna say leans into the problematic, but it's just like how I see it from a practical perspective. And it's that I think a lot of energy goes into trying to agree and have an universal ultimate answer or definition to what, for example, a woman is. And I've never been confronted with this question by, I don't know, like a transphobic person, but I always thought I would say, well, that really depends. Instead of saying, okay, this is like what I believe it's a woman, I think I'd say, well, I don't know, that if we look into history, this has changed.
Yeah.
Like Black women were not even considered women at some point, and also it hasn't only changed when it comes to history, but also when it comes to cultures. As you were saying, like some cultures define it differently. And I think sometimes it will be easier to come to this agreement and build from there instead of like trying to have a universal definition or our definition accepted as universal to something that is just not.
I like this idea of also having more, not only gender neutral, but like genderless conversation or like relationship, you know, where like body parts are also like genderless. Like there's body, you put all this like definition and then categorizing, okay, if this is looks like this, then it is like this. Like, in general, like hairs is hairs. Like we name our body parts as if they have gender. And I like to have more stimulating ideas or conversation in terms of like, okay, treating something as a genderless concept, you know, challenging how I think. It's not only about challenging the binary and then the gender binary, but also like the gender itself. Like at the same time, I know we are in a gendered society, so there are many things that affects our reality because of certain gender rules and punishments and transphobia and violence against trans and queer people. That doesn't mean we cannot think the utopia of like how would it look like if we really then exist as we are. And sometimes I even caught myself feeling insecure with my own transness because there is again this comparison sometimes. Oh, I'm not trans enough. Or I don't look trans because, yeah, the trans people that we look in the media are just that categories that I didn't see enough trans people in the media that represents more of my ensemble. I don't know, like us, you know, and that affected my own internalized transphobia too sometimes, to think that, oh, I had this insecurity when I was changing and I was like, my body is not desirable anymore. And then my body changed and people would just like think I'm like, what is this, you know? And realizing I needed transitioning is not out. Like there's so many inner, with or without hormone, like the inner perception about yourself, your self-worth, and then challenging, confronting my own internalized femphobia, transphobia, homophobia in my own head that affected the way I then restricted myself even more. While actually, no, being trans, I told you, I love being trans because it's very liberating for me. It's just like me loving myself, even the me that at that moment don't know. Also, this expectation, trans people should know already. This is your identity. You need to know your labels. You need to know what you like, otherwise you're just like confused. And then this story of like, it's not real. And that's like the scary part. We are real. We just have different experiences in being in contact with gender.
Transitioning also implies that you left something behind, and in some instances, things that you miss or things that you liked about your previous experience. And in other cases, it also implies like cutting off relationships and expectations. We were talking at some point also about your own life and what you want for your life. How has this been for you?
Mm-hmm. This is the part where I entered an unknown space. Like the first intention to take these steps to do hormone replacement therapy was, I feel the euphoria, I feel the joy. And I did. In like the first month, I was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. I feel this. Like every morning I counted my hair. Like, oh my God, it's happening. And the part of like yes, it's changing. And with the boost of the hormone, it's just changing so fast that I couldn't even keep up with the changes myself. And I was just focusing on the outside look. And that's what's happening was like inside a lot that somewhere within me was feeling lost at the same time. That I wrote a poem about trans grief, I call it. We talk a lot about trans joy. I know how important it is to share this kind of joy as well, while I'm wishing we have more space also to hold and to talk about the grief, what we needed to lose to have this joy, to be able to allow this joy to happen to us. And for my own experience was like, the longer I took testosterone and then how I was confronted with the feeling of lost and found at the same time, like transitioning. I feel like I find myself, but then I lose myself as well. Changing the pronouns or changing the looks, it also changed the way society perceived me. There was also a grief of like, oh, now the world would not perceive me as the woman I was used to, and there was a grief to womanhood as well, that I was not only having negative experience in terms of like what it means being in this body and moving in this patriarchy society. And at the same time, I felt like there was so much beauty in there that I felt like, oh, now I'm entering more in the like men's world, that I was like, oh my God, I was like, no. Why do I smell like a man? And all this confusion, needing to... Recently, I had this experience of looking at the mirrors and I don't see myself until I decided to shave my head again and remove all the colors on my hair and having like my real hair color, that I finally felt me again, because of all the changes that is happening that I don't even realize sometimes. And I'm like, oh, this is one of the things that stays.
You know what's crazy?
Oh, what?
When we met in October, November last year, that we reconnected, you had your pink hair still. And when I think of that version of you, I think that's not you.
Right.
Yes, that's crazy.
It's
That's really crazy.
It's crazy.
Because for me, this is you.
This is me now.
Yeah.
And I feel also, I remember I wrote my manifestation for this year because I also changed my name. Like so many transition, with the embodiment of myself that was Andra and now is Dira, and why I chose the name or the name chose me, and there are like meanings in it. And for this year, I wanted to embody Dira more, because I was also still in the confusion phase of like, there is still this Andra. And Andra is still there too, but like now Dira takes more space in my body, that look like I'm still colorful, but I'm not like boof colorful like I used to. Oda?
True.
Right? There's certain new things that I myself need to acknowledge too. Like, this change is intense.
Yeah, I'm glad that you found yourself and that I found you.
Thank you. And when we are lost together at least.
Yeah, but we're not.
We're just confused.
A little bit confused.
And when you're confused, you actually then start to questions and to ask more questions. It's not about the right question or the wrong question, as long as you ask questions, especially about yourself more. I think we are going in the good path, hopefully. And if you have questions also for us personally or about the project and feedback, or maybe wish like what kind of topics we should talk about, write in the comments, send us DM as well. You can also send us DM, and subscribe and click all the heart button.
See you next time.
See you next time.